Hey there, people! So today I am finally bringing you my Terraria Plantera guide for expert mode and normal mode as well. This will be covering the boss, how to build an arena, how to spawn Plantera, strategies for fighting her, armor, weapons, and preparation. I will show you the fight itself, and I'll show you the effects of defeating Plantera and the drops at the end as well. We'll go over the details there. So this will be including details for all classes, melee, ranged, mage, and summoner, as well as all platforms, PC, console, and mobile, both 1.2 and 1.3. I'll also be covering and talking about the Spore Sac expert drop that you get in expert mode from Plantera at the end of the video. So this is suitable for expert, but applicable for normal as well. It's just less necessary to be so super prepared in normal mode. I'll explain wherever there are differences between normal and expert or game versions, and I will include timestamps in the video description for each section of the video so you can jump ahead to what you need to know. So first of all, about the boss. Plantera is a flowering plant head which pursues players by using vine hooks to move. The Plantera fight has two stages. In the first stage, it fires seeds. She fires seeds. It's considered a she. Also, thorn balls and poison seeds a little bit later on. In the second stage, though, Plantera moves faster, stops shooting so much, and charges at the player, releasing tendrils with little like mouths on them. And so in expert mode, the seeds can go through walls, and there are more tendrils that are attached to the hooks. Also, in that second phase, on both of them actually, she also releases spores. That's the only thing she mostly shoots in the second stage. Upon defeat, Plantera drops the temple key, giving access to the jungle temple. It is necessary to defeat Plantera before you can fight Golem, at least since 1.2.3. Even if you get access to the temple earlier, you'll still need to defeat Plantera to fight Golem. So spawning Plantera. Plantera is summoned by destroying one of Plantera's bulbs, which grow naturally in the underground jungle. But the bulbs grow randomly in the underground jungle only after defeating all three mechanical bosses. I believe that's also since 1.2.3. The bulbs do emit some light. And yeah, 3DS is actually before that, so that might not be true for 3DS. But anyway, the bulbs do emit some light, which helps to spot them, and they will appear as pink spots on the mini-map once they have been revealed. Once you've seen them, you'll be able to spot them on the mini-map. So, the bulbs will grow naturally up to around double-digit numbers. For each bulb you destroy to fight her, another will grow, not in the same spot, but randomly again. Although there is sort of a pattern when there's enough of them eventually. But there is no obtainable or craftable item to summon Plantera. It's only Plantera's bulbs. More bulbs, again, though, will grow back. So you can keep summoning her and fighting her indefinitely because the bulbs will grow back. Unlike many other bosses, Plantera does not have to be summoned or defeated at any particular time of day. She's not one of those nocturnal bosses that you have to defeat at night. So there you go. So let's talk about Plantera's attacks, the boss's attacks, and the battle info. Initially, Plantera moves through blocks by stretching out vines that attach to nearby surfaces. She can move through blocks, more or less, but she reaches out like big tendrils that grab onto blocks and background walls, which will become important later. In the first phase, Plantera fires those pink seeds, shooting them faster as she takes more damage. After she's lost about 20% of her health, she also starts firing those thorn balls and green poison seeds. Interestingly, the thorn balls actually do significantly more damage on mobile and 3DS for whatever reason than on other platforms. That'll probably change with the mobile update coming soon, but we'll see. Plantera chases after the player and does also try to inflict contact damage, but in the first phase she moves pretty slowly, so at that point you'll mostly be worried about dodging her projectiles. Now, after Plantera is reduced to half health, she enters her second phase, where those pink petals fall away to reveal a thorny mouth, and Plantera will now charge at you more quickly, trying to inflict contact damage directly. She also shoots, then in that second phase, those pink spore projectiles that fall towards the player, similar to the spores that are fired at you by those mushroom stalk things in the underground mushroom biome. Similar idea. Additionally, In the second stage, vines and tentacles will also sprout with mouths attached, reminiscent of the Wall of Flesh's Hungry, little tendril things with mouths on the end trying to eat you. And these can be destroyed, though, like the Wall of Flesh's tendrils. The Plantera's tentacles can be destroyed and will not grow back, so it's best to kill them quickly, ideally. Be careful, though, not to move. Again, Plantera's charging at you, chasing you all the time. Be careful not to move too far away from Plantera, because she will despawn, actually, if the distance between you is too large. Estimated maybe around 150 blocks or so. Basically, you want to keep her near your screen. It depends on your resolution and zoom size, but let's say I zoomed way out. Probably not too far off that size of a screen, so keep that in mind. Also, if you leave the jungle, Plantera will become enraged, and you do not want an enraged Plantera. Basically, enraged Plantera has roughly double all of her stats, damage, defense, and speed, so you don't want to fight that if you don't have to. And also in expert mode, seeds from the first phase will travel through blocks. So that's the difference between normal and expert. Those seeds will travel through blocks, and there are more of those thorn balls, which will possibly home in on the player. Apparently, I didn't really notice that, but apparently. And also in expert mode, there will be more of those tentacles in that second phase attached to her hooks. So they're attached at a different point as well, which spreads them out more. You'll see that when I fight her. And Plantera has extra contact damage and speed in expert mode. So let's talk about the arena. Now, an arena, ideally, the sort of basic idea is to get a large open area in the underground jungle with platforms or other means for movement. Not too many platforms, because you want to be able to move freely, and of course at this point you have wings, so you don't need too many platforms, but platforms will still help you because you need a place to land too. A large beehive can be a good starting point if you've already killed one of the larvae in one of the beehives, or if you can avoid them successfully. I'd go ahead and say somewhere you've probably fought the queen bee before already. Although you can even use the queen bee for a little extra health, but that's another story. So Plantera's thorn balls fall through platforms, which is why platforms are the way to go. They do, however, bounce high, so you will need lots of space to avoid those thorn balls, especially on, again, mobile and 3DS, pre-update mobile at least. Those thorn balls do a lot of damage, so you're going to want lots of space there. Again, but don't get too far away, don't get carried away. You can also, alternatively, you can use long, narrow passages, because those slow Plantera down. So that's an option as well. But I find, for me at least, just a big space is the way to go. And you can also, alternatively, you can also create your own jungle biome. The bulbs will spawn, will grow in artificial jungle. They do take time to grow, so if you're going to go that approach, you're probably going to need to wait a while before those bulbs are going to grow for you. Also, as always, when you're building an arena, it's not a bad idea to build a house for your nurse nearby with a bed. Again, you don't want to teleport too far away from Plantera. She'll despawn. But if it's near your arena, you can teleport to your nurse, get a quick heal. Also on the updated platforms, the Dryad can help as well. The Dryad's Blessing buff and the Dryad's Bane debuff. Buff for you, debuff for Plantera, that the Dryad can provide, although you do have to be careful not to get your Dryad killed, and that's true for the nurse as well. The nurse can self-heal, so it's less of an issue, but you don't want them in direct line of battle, so to speak. And as always with arenas, campfires, heart lanterns, and for magic users, stars in bottles to boost your health and your mana regeneration. Honey pools are also going to help with your health regeneration. You just take a little dip to get that buff, and it'll stay active for a little while. Plus, heart and star statues wired to pressure plates or timers can also help. And on the updated platforms, you can actually use sunflowers to provide a movement bonus and to reduce enemy spawn rates. So let's talk strategies. Plantera is only immune to confuse, poison, and venom debuffs. So inflicting other debuffs can be very helpful. Again, expert, higher defense, a lot of those ones that are just going to take a little bit of health are going to be a little less powerful, but still, you know, debuffs are going to help. Especially Ichor is always going to help, and actually even more so in expert, on the other hand. So Ichor, if you're in a Crimson world, is definitely one you're going to want to go with. And if you're in that second phase, a good idea is to destroy those tentacles quickly. Again, I just want to repeat that, especially for non-melee players. You're not going to have as much defense, so you're going to want to get rid of those tentacles because they're going to come after you. And piercing weapons become more useful in that second phase because those allow you to hit the tentacles as well as her at the same time. One specific strategy is to use a hallway, a small, short, not very tall hallway, about 150 blocks long with teleporters at each end. As she approaches, you teleport to the other end. But if the hallway is too long, again, that's why it's 150 blocks roughly, because if it's much longer than that, she'll despawn. And it's worthy of noting, if you're thinking about the teleporter strategy, banana rings and light discs will keep flying if you teleport before they return to you, so that'll help you do some extra damage. Basically, you can fire them one way, they'll start coming back, then you teleport, they'll start going back the other way to where you teleport to, which is a cool little bonus there. Another little strategy you can use is, instead of just a large empty area, you can actually flood your arena and use that with either a Neptune shell or a moon shell and a flipper potion or other swimming boosts. Basically, that allows fast movement without the need for wings or boots, and particularly with the moon shell, that's going to give you some damage boosts and stuff as well. And so you can use that in place of wings or boots. So if you really want to go overboard, I'm not going to go to all that trouble, but I will show you the teleporter strategy. I'm just going to try it out. I haven't even tried it up to this point. I'm going to show you 2 different fights at the end here. It does make me wonder, though, with that flooded strategy, something that would be interesting to try that I haven't tried might be a turtle mount and gills potions. That might work as well. Again, just another way of swimming quickly and reducing the number of accessories that you need. Because on the updated platforms, you have a mount slot. You can put your mount there and free up an accessory slot. Just a thought. So let's talk about armor. Well, Chlorophyte is going to be the best armor for most classes. Hallowed armor, and that's what I'm using. That's why I've got this leaf crystal thing here that fires at the enemies automatically, and it's also the highest defense for most classes. So Hallowed or Titanium can also work well. Those are good options. Melee players may want to consider Turtle armor. That's a good alternative. I believe it's higher defense. I forget the stats offhand, but I think it's higher defense, but maybe lower boosts or vice versa. Anyway, you can look that up. Summoners will still need to use Spider armor. It's basically your only hard mode summoning armor at this point if you haven't yet defeated Plantera, and if you're not getting your items from somewhere else. Of course, there's more powerful stuff if you're getting your armor and accessories from outside of this world. But also one last option is even frost armor can work for this fight, particularly if you want to combine both melee and ranged weapons. Frost armor boosts both of those, so that's an option as well. I'm going to go with Chlorophyte. It's the generally recommended option, and of course which headpiece decides which weapons it's going to boost, essentially. So let's talk about weapons. Well, if you're in a Crimson world, any weapon that inflicts the Ichor debuff, I sort of mentioned that, it's going to help you a lot. So some of those are the Golden Shower, Ichor arrows, Ichor bullets, the Flask of Ichor, and so on. As far as melee weapons, the Death Sickle, I've got one. Death Sickle is a great option and also works well with the teleporter strategy. Supposedly, haven't tried it yet. The Terra Blade can work well, as can the Chlorophyte Partisan, the Mushroom Spear, or the Light Discs. I did play around with Light Discs a little. On the updated platforms, the Fetid Bagnaks with speed boosts are extremely powerful. If you get enough speed boosts for the Fetid Bagnaks, you can kill Plantera in seconds, actually, and there are videos where people do that, so you can check that out if you want. Also on the updated platforms, the Yellets or any of the expert developer yo-yos, there's 2 of those, with a yo-yo bag. powerful option, and the Shadow Flame Knife can also work well. Now let's talk ranged weapons. The Uzi and the Mega Shark are generally the best as far as guns. So I've got a Mega Shark here. The Onyx Blaster on the updated platforms can work as well. So I brought one of those along. As far as guns, you're going to ideally want to combine those with crystal bullets, ichor bullets, or chlorophyte bullets. I'm going to go with the chlorophyte. I've got another little strategy to go with that, which I'll talk about when I get there. Also, if you prefer bows and repeaters, the chlorophyte shot bow can work very well with holy or ichor arrows. If you are on the updated platforms, if you clear out enough vertical space above you, you can actually use the Daedalus Stormbow, but those stars, the arrows rain down from above, so you need lots of vertical space above you for that to work. And of course, the Daedalus Stormbow is very powerful with holy arrows. Also on the updated platforms, you can use the dart pistol or the dart rifle with ichor or cursed darts. So I've got a dart pistol. This is Crimson World. And yeah, that's going to be actually my little strategy. What I've done is I've got my dart pistol with ichor darts, and then my guns with chlorophyte bullets is my little, that's my thing that I'm going to do first. So I'm basically going to do ranged, basic fight in a big arena, and then after that I'm going to do melee in the teleporter arena. But let's talk magic weapons. The magic weapons, you're going to want to be using the golden shower periodically to inflict that ichor debuff, but it's not going to be your primary weapon. Basically, you want to spray her with the ichor, or whatever you want to call that, and then use your other weapons. The Nimbus Rod is also helpful because that allows you to place those clouds, constant rain, constant damage, and doesn't cost you constant mana, which is a great benefit for magic users. Magic Harp, and you can use that if you're not a magic user too, that's still going to help you. Magical Harp and the Magic Dagger are good magic weapon options available on all platforms. On the updated platforms, you're going to want to use maybe the Crystal Serpent, the Shadow Flame Hex Doll, and again, if you have enough vertical space, you can also use the Meteor Staff. So far, one that's so far just on PC only is the Sky Fracture. That's another good option. That should be coming to the other platforms hopefully soon, but for now it's PC only. Good magic weapon as well. As far as summoning weapons, there's nothing useful available on 3DS at this point in the game. Basically, you can only effectively become a summoner after defeating Plantera on 3DS, but for other platforms, the Optic Staff, which summons a miniature version of the twins, is generally going to be the best minion option. The lasers and stuff also pierce, so that's going to help you in that second phase. The Spider Staff is also a good option, which I actually do have here. But the spiders, to be effective, kind of rely on having background walls. And your arena, you're probably going to want to dig out your background walls because Plantera can grab onto the background walls as well as the solid blocks. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. If you really want to use your Spider Staff, you're going to want to keep your background walls. Otherwise, you're probably going to want to dig them out. Also, you can use the Queen Spider Staff as a sentry, basically to just add a little extra damage from a sentry summon. Or on PC only so far, you can use Canes from the Tavern Keep from the Old Ones Army event. I'm sure eventually that'll come to other platforms. Those can be used as sentries as well. Now, as far as accessories and buffs, first of all, make sure that you collect and use as many life fruits as possible before the fight. That's how I got 500 health here. That's how you get the golden hearts. So you'll find life fruits in the underground jungle after you've been defeating the mechanical bosses. They'll start to grow, and they're just little plants with a little heart on them, and you'll want to find those, use those, fill your health to the maximum 500 ideally. You get to 400 by life crystals, and then you can use those life fruits to get you to 500. That's going to help a lot. Also, use the emblem for whichever class you're playing to boost your damage output. So I have both a ranger emblem and a warrior emblem for melee here because I'm going to do one of each. So I've just put the ones I'm not using right now in my vanity slots. But But yeah, you're going to want the one that matches your class to boost your damage output. It's a 15% boost, which is awesome. Also, at this point in the game, you can get the Avenger emblem, and that's going to give you a further boost. So you can combine both, which, again, I've done here. See 12% increase. That's all types of damage for the Avenger emblem, whereas the class-specific ones are for specific classes of damage. But you can stack these together. Of course, you're going to need to farm the Wall of Flesh. If you want to do that, you're going to have to keep defeating the Wall of Flesh to get enough emblems. But the emblems are going to go a big way in increasing your damage and killing Plantera faster. So, as far as other things, for melee users, the Mechanical Glove and or the Fire Gauntlet can boost damage and speed, and they are both stackable together. So I do have Fire Gauntlet here, but you can actually have both the Mechanical Gauntlet and the Fire Gauntlet and your emblems, so you can get massive damage that way. For magic users, you're going to want the Celestial Emblem. That's going to boost your damage and your Mana Star pickup range, and also can be stacked with the other emblems, the Avenger and the class specific, and other accessories, of course. You're going to probably want wings or boots, depending on your strategy, to increase your movement speed. So I actually do currently have both. I may or may not swap one of those out, but those are going to be your movement speed so that you can dodge Plantera, so you can run around, fly around quickly, get out of her way, and dodge, her projectile attacks and her, of course. So the best wings available at this point in the game are either fire, frozen, or leaf wings. You can get fire wings, which are a little bit better, I believe. Frozen or leaf wings are very close in stats, and of course leaf wings you can get right at the beginning of hard mode, so that's actually what I have here. And as far as boots, you're going to want either the lightning or frostbark boots. I've got the frostbark. In expert mode, the Shield of Cthulhu can help with both dodging and defense. I have one of those, but I don't actually have it equipped because I decided to go with the Ankh Shield. I actually borrowed that from my other world, so call that a cheat if you want, but I'll talk about why that is. The Ankh Shield, Obsidian Shield, or Cobalt Shield are excellent for melee users because they're going to prevent knockback, which means you can be more effective when you're attacking. They can help others as well. You don't want to be knocked around too much. But the Ankh Shield is also going to help avoid poison. I mean, you can use a Bezoar, but it's taking up an entire slot, whereas the Ankh Shield gives you extra defense, prevents knockback, and also helps you avoid the poison, among other things. The Moon Charm or the Moon Shell are also helpful, particularly for melee users. The Moon Stone is also useful if you're going to fight her at night or during a solar eclipse, so that's what I've got here. I might swap that in if I happen to be fighting her at nighttime. We'll see how long my recording takes. The Cross Necklace, or even better, the Star Veil, can also help with avoiding damage, and Star Veil can also inflict a little. Frozen Turtle Shell and or the Expert Corruption Only Worm Scarf will help to reduce damage taken, so that's one for you guys. In the Corruption worlds, the Worm Scarf is going to help a lot, make up for some of the things that you didn't get from being in a Crimson world, the Ichor. So also the Charm of Myths can help with health regeneration and reduces health potion cooldown time. I do have one of those. And also the Magic Quiver, if you're using a bow or repeater, including the Daedalus Stormbow or the Chlorophyte Shotbow, you'll want that Magic Quiver. It's going to give you a damage boost and more. Magic users will likely also want the Magic Cuffs or Celestial Cuffs to help you restore mana. If you're on an updated platform in a Corruption world and still have space left over somehow, you might want the Putrid Scent. It gives you a little bit of damage and critical strike boost. And as always, make sure that you reforge your weapons and accessories to get a good modifier to boost the stats. You're either going to want to go with Menacing for damage output or Warding for defense, ideally. Most people, that's for your accessories. Most people in Expert will go with Warding. A few of these I just went with Armored because I got Armored and I didn't want to spend the extra money. But yeah, see, Armor is +3, defense, Warding is +4, so most of these I've got Warding. And that just gives you extra defense so you can survive better. Similarly, reforge your weapons. You know, a Ruthless Mega Shark is better than a Broken Mega Shark or something like that. you get the idea. So you reforge at your Goblin Tinkerer, of course, for money. It's going to cost you. Also, there are some placed items. I may as well run and show you these quickly. The crystal ball for magic users is available on all platforms. Will give you some boost to your magic power. That's this right here. The ammo box is available on all but 3DS. Will reduce your ammo usage if you're a ranger. On the updated platforms, you can get the Bewitching table, which will allow you 1 extra minion summon. And also, you can get the Sharpening Station, which is for melee users or for melee weapons. It will give you a little boost for those. So yeah, this is, by the way, the arena I have prepared. You can see large open space. I did hammer out the background walls, and so that should help me out. Now let's return back to the safety of the house. Other things that you might want, though, food for the well-fed buff, particularly important on expert because it will you get a regeneration penalty if you don't have food on expert, but it'll help you on normal as well. It boosts your stats a bit, just some kind of food. Potions can also help to give you an edge, of course. Use the best health potions you have available, of course, and mana potions if you are a magic user. You're going to want Iron Skin, regeneration, maybe endurance and life force to help you survive the fight. You're going to want a swiftness potion for mobility, rage or wrath for general damage boosts, archery if you're using arrow-based weapons, bows or repeaters. You're also going to want, melee users are going to want to use flasks. The Ichor Flask, Flask of Ichor in Crimson Worlds, or the Flask of Cursed Flames is a good one in Corruption Worlds. There are other options. Ale or sake can help melee users as well to increase your damage output, but it comes at a cost. It lowers your defense. Magic users can also use mana regeneration and magic power potions. Summoners and even others can use summoning potions. Again, another extra minion. The gravitation potion can help in the first phase of the Plantera fight with avoiding those thorny balls, because the thorny balls fall to the ground. So if you're using a gravitation potion, you're falling upward and they're falling downward. You're going to avoid them a little easier. Also, one that I realized myself, the Inferno potion can be very helpful in that second phase to prevent damage from those spores, because those spores, they die easy, but they do a lot of damage to you. So Inferno potion, fire barrier, I'll show you that. It will take them out before they can hit you. So now we're going to move on to the fight. I'll start that in just a minute. Alright, here we come. So this is where I found one of these Plantera bulbs along my minecart track. By the way, I did find, I tried fighting her with a minecart track. I don't recommend it. Didn't really work out for me. But here we go. You need to break one of these with a pickaxe or destroy the ground underneath it or use a Clantaminator to trigger her. Maybe before I do that, I'd better put on all my buffs. There we go. Here she comes. But I will use this to get over to my arena. Where are you, Plantera? There you are. I see you. She's coming. I'm keeping her off the screen, though. And yes, I've got a little house with the nurse there just outside of my arena because I don't want her to die. But yeah, my basic strategy is going to be this right here. Just the Mega Shark, big open area. And I'm sticking with Chlorophyte bullets. For me, I found they seem to work best, but that might depend on your aim. And as I say, switching to the dart rifle with the Ichor darts as a way of inflicting Ichor. You could use Golden Shower, you can use a bunch of things for that, but that's why I'm doing that. I'm just switching every so often. When I get damaged enough, healing potion. There we are, already in the second phase. You can see she has to reach a lot farther because I hammered out the background walls. So you can see how those latch points essentially spawn these other evil little suckers. If I really need to, I can teleport off to my nurse, hoping I can be cool and not have to do that. But I don't know, it's dodging, really. Ow. Yeah, if I can kill enough of the little things, I might be able to do this without that. Also manage to dodge. Oh, it's tight though. Yep, she's almost dead. So if I can just manage to not die, maybe I won't have to resort to the nurse. Maybe, just maybe. Oh god. Yeah, I went with running away instead. The nurse would have been the safer bet. That was really close. But yeah, that's how you can do it with just a big open area. Even if you suck at dodging like I do. Now, I'm going to sort of regroup here, and I'm going to show you the teleporter strategy as well with some melee gear instead. Alright, here we go. So I've got my melee gear mostly swapped in here. You know what? Maybe I'll... it's a bit of a risk. I'll throw that in as well. And my nurse has followed me here finally, which was a bit of a problem. And as you can see, I've got a teleporter here at this end, right next to a Plantera bulb that I just happened to find here. And then that's going to teleport me way down here. And if I show you on the map... That is almost exactly 150 blocks long, and it's just a narrow path. The idea is I can shoot after Plantera and then teleport when she gets close, and then she's going to follow me the other way, and so on. So let's give it a shot. I haven't tried this one. I have done the other way before. The death sickle is a short-range weapon for this strategy, but I'm thinking maybe the light discs are going to be better. Also, I really should get my buffs in, right? Yeah, I mean, this is obviously going to take a lot longer. I think the death sickle is probably the way to go for it, though, and that's a life fruit, by the way. I guess part of the strategy, too, I mean, it's not that I can't run along here, fire along the way, although I am going to get whacked with a bunch of those seeds. If I do that... But yeah, if you want to cheese the fight, and there are of course ways you can do this with traps and so on. Now this is where it's going to matter more. Your mechanism might also matter. I just put a simple pressure plate on here, but that might not be the best approach. Alright, into the nurse. Heal. Run away. Speaking of cheesing the fight. And there are certainly ways this is a very basic version of this, and you can certainly improve upon it. I just wanted to try it. I thought it would be kind of funny to try. Somehow, oh god, how did I manage to take my breastplate off? Anyway, yeah, I managed to win it by cheesing the teleporting and the nurse, so it's viable. So that's an option, I guess. You can do it that way too. I like the other way better. But anyway, let's get on to the drops at this point. So actually, yeah, first of all, before we even get on to the drops, I'm going to need to talk about the things that happen after you defeat Plantera. So let's go into the safety of our house here. Where did my nurse go? All right, but in the safety of the house, maybe she died and I didn't notice. So there are several things that happen after you defeat Plantera. There are changes that happen in your world, and those are important to be aware of. So first of all, there are some new enemies that will spawn in the dungeon, particularly with new drops available. The spread of the Crimson Corruption and Hallow biomes slows down by about half, so they'll spread not nearly as quickly. So if you didn't wall them off, defeat Plantera quickly, and they won't spread so fast, at least. And the Cyborg NPC becomes available, which already spawned, actually, in this world since my first of those two fights. The Truffle also sells the Auto Hammer after you defeat Plantera, which is necessary for crafting Shroomite equipment. So for Rangers particularly, the Shroomite armor, that's how you get it. You combine glowing mushrooms and chlorified bars, and anyway, get the idea. The Witch Doctor also sells new summoning items. Now that's critical for you 3DS players. You can become a summoner after you defeat Plantera, but you get new, more powerful stuff on other platforms as well. Witch Doctor also sells the Vial of Venom after defeating Plantera. The Traveling Merchant can sell the Pulse Bow after Plantera, and on the updated platforms, there are also new enemies in the Solar Eclipse, a whole series of them to make the solar eclipses harder. Now, let's talk about Plantera's drops. Plantera always drops 5 to 15 greater healing potions. I got a bunch of those. And the Temple Key, which will be in the treasure bag for me because I'm an expert. On the pre-update versions, Temple Keys are also used. The Temple Key is necessary to get into the Jungle Temple, and it's also necessary to beat Plantera to fight the Golem, which is the next boss, essentially. On the pre-update versions, though, the Temple Keys are also used with key molds to craft biome keys. So you may need to farm Plantera, particularly on the pre-update platforms, to get extra Temple Keys to make the biome keys, if you need those. On the updated versions, though, biome keys will just drop directly in their respective biomes. I was actually lucky enough to get a jungle temple, or yeah, there it is, jungle key, since I spent a lot of time down here preparing for this. So now that I've defeated Plantera, I can use that in the dungeon to open the jungle chest. And yeah, on the updated platforms, you can only use the biome keys after defeating Plantera. Of course, pre-update, you need the jungle key from her anyway, but I guess you could have other ways of getting that. Plantera will also always drop one of the following 7 weapons: the Grenade Launcher, the Venus Magnum, the Nettle Burst, the Leaf Blower, the Flower Pow, the Wasp Gun, or on the updated platforms, the Seedler Sword as well. That's the only one that's update specific, the Seedler Sword. The Grenade Launcher is dropped with Rocket 1 rocket ammo, and the other 6 other than the Seedler are on all platforms. Plantera also has a 1 in 4 chance to drop the Pygmy Staff, which summons Pygmy minions. It's a 1 in 2 chance in Expert, so again, stuff for summoners. A 1 in 20 chance to drop the Seedling, which summons the Pet Sapling, so that's a pet item. 1 in 50 chance to drop the Axe, which is a ham axe, which makes electric guitar sounds and looks like an electric guitar, but it's a ham axe. It's both a hammer and an axe. On the updated platforms, it's 1 in 50. On pre-update, it's 1 in 200 to get that. And there's a 1 in 7 chance that Plantera will drop the Plantera Mask, and a 1 in 10 chance that she will drop the Plantera Trophy. On 3DS, there is also a chance that she will drop the Zappinator. It's rumored to be around a 1 in 80 chance, but it's not exactly clear what that chance is. You can only get the Zappinator officially now on 3DS. And on the updated platforms only, there's a 1 in 10 chance that she will drop the Thorn Hook, which of course is a grappling hook. In Expert, there is always the Spore Sac in her treasure bag. So in Expert, you basically just get the treasure bag, and then you open the treasure bag, find out what you got. There's always going to be a Spore Sac in there. As with all hard mode treasure bags, there's also a 1 in 20 chance that the treasure bag will contain a full set of developer items. The Spore Sac, when equipped, spawns spores near the player, which will attack nearby enemies. So along with the leaf crystal, that's two things that you can use for sort of passive attack, which will help with AFK farming or in certain areas. The spores inflict about 400 damage per second plus the poison debuff, but they disappear after killing the targeted enemy. They also spawn around tiles or walls within a limited area. Oh, my nurse is back, so she did die. So yeah, the spores will basically spawn on or near the walls and then attack nearby enemies in a small area. They will not spawn in liquids, although they can follow into them. So it's situational how useful that Spore Sac is going to be, but it is useful in small areas and against enemies that travel through walls because they spawn on the walls. So it's going to be very useful in the dungeon particularly, and the underground jungle here as well. Again, useful for AFK farming since they will protect you even when you're standing still. So let's open these treasure bags and find out what I got. There's my Spore Sac. There's my temple key and a grenade launcher. And there we go. I got rocket ones for that as well. They do not destroy tiles, which is nice. So you can use that. You still hurt yourself, though. So treasure bag number 2, since I fought her twice. Ooh, I got the Venus Magnum in that one. So 2 Spore Sacs, 2 temple keys. Those will be in them all the time. And one of them I got the grenade launcher, one of them I got the Magnum. No developer set for me today, but oh well. So let's equip that, and you can see Spore Sac spores floating around, and yes, they do a ton of damage, and that is going to be very nice wandering around enclosed spaces where there's lots of enemies, like the underground jungle and the dungeon. So anyway, that's Plantera, and that's everything you get from her, and so on, and your Spore Sac and all that. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.